that John Barilaro, the Deputy Premier, is suing this YouTube comedian named Friendlyjordies. Well, he's escalating things now, is Barilaro. He's called the cops on Friendlyjordies' producer, who's a 21-year-old, a YouTube prankster, sort of in the spirit of, you might think of The Chaser. And the cops have gone round to the kid's place and arrested him for stalking and intimidating the Deputy Premier. Helen Dalton is a person who's concerned by this development. She's the member for Murray with the Shooters, Fishers and Farmers Party. G'day, Helen.
Hello, how are you?
I'm terrific. Now, you have a pre-existing relationship of some kind with Friendlyjordies. You two collaborated on a video about water?
We have. That hasn't been released yet, but we've worked on other videos as well. So, no, they certainly come out into the bush and explore a lot of those things that many of the journalists don't do.
And if people don't know Friendlyjordies, can you just articulate the sort of stuff that he does and why you were drawn to him?
Well, I guess he's highlighting, he does a lot of homework with the issues, and he highlights a lot of the problems with corruption, and he does it in such a way that is amusing, funny. It's very confronting at times, though, but he certainly gets his point across, and he's got a huge following with young adults, particularly at university. So they're watching him, and he presents his work in such a way that people can understand what's going on too.
Yeah, he's funny. He's a troublemaker. He's contrarian. He's anti-establishment. All of the things that a young satirist should be, some might say, but not John Barilaro. What's happened?
Well, John Barilaro, I guess the Friendlyjordies have done quite a few clips on John Barilaro and highlighted some of the there's a lot of allegations with corruption with John Barilaro, and they've highlighted that. And I guess John Barilaro has decided to take it upon himself to get Kristo, one of the Friendlyjordies, arrested, which is really taking democracy to a new low.
So the initial step was that Barilaro, in response to these two clips that Jordan put online, which had amassed 1 million views, sued this YouTube comedian for defamation. Again, this raised, and this was last month, this raised questions about Australian defamation law, the idea that a wealthy, powerful individual who is second in charge of running the state can be suing a young YouTube comic for satire because his feelings are hurt because of defamation, raises questions about defamation law. But set all of that concern aside, your concern this week is this arrest. I mean, it's one thing to have a civil suit where you're claiming that someone's defamed you. It's quite another to involve the authorities, who I believe came from a counter-terrorism unit in the New South Wales Police, to go around to the bloke's place and arrest him. What's the allegation that Friendlyjordies producer Kristo has done?
Well, supposedly the offences relate to stalking and intimidation, intending to cause fear or physical or mental harm. And if you do know Kristo, it's certainly not the case. He's only doing his job as a journalist, and it really places every journalist at risk. And we know that even the ABC have been taken to task over certain things where you had been raided by the police. But to have the counter-terrorism police involved really takes this to a new level, and it's very, very concerning for all of us that want to. We want a democratic society. So really, it's taken John Barilaro, his power and his privilege, using his position to really shut down any dissenters or anyone that disagrees with himself.
Yeah, having to go bankrupt because a powerful person is suing you for defamation is one thing, but having a permanent criminal record would be another thing. These two events that the Deputy Premier is alleging this 21-year-old YouTube producer took part in, the first allegedly occurred at Macquarie University Politics in the Pub event, and the Deputy Premier was speaking there, and the allegation is that Jordan Shanks, the YouTube prankster, was dressed up as the video game character Luigi and approached John Barilaro and introduced Kristo Lanka, the producer, as his lawyer, saying, "Why are you suing us? And why are you suing us?" And eventually they had to leave. That's one of the instances that John Barilaro says was stalking and harassment at a public event at Macquarie University. And then the other is allegedly that John Barilaro was returning to his car after Bob Fulton's funeral, the rugby league legend, and Kristo Lanka allegedly approached him there and filmed him and badgered him with questions. What do you think should happen now, Helen, now that charges have been laid?
Well, they've obviously got good lawyers involved in this, and the lawyers are fairly shocked at what's happened. They'll look at the video and, of course, try and match that with John Barilaro's account, which I've had a look at the video, and it certainly doesn't match up at all. And I guess I guess it'll be in the courts, so it'll be very, very interesting to see. But it also, I'm just wondering, because I'm certainly concerned about water corruption, that they haven't released this YouTube video on water corruption, and I'm wondering whether this is all part of the government's plan to stall the release of that, if they're tying the Friendlyjordies up in the courts, whether this will delay, or whether they think it'll delay the release of that YouTube. So it does raise a lot of concerns for me about the way politics is going, and the use of the police, and the type of police that they've sent in. It just raises a lot of questions about what's going on here.
It's interesting, Helen, that you mentioned, I'm speaking with Helen Dalton, who's a Lower House MP for Murray, from the Shooters, Fishers and Farmers Party, about the arrest of Friendlyjordies producer named Kristo Lanka, a 21-year-old satirist on YouTube, at the behest of the Deputy Premier John Barilaro. And I did see, by the way, Dom Knight from The Chaser tweeting that, he doesn't think that they would have been able to get away with what The Chaser was getting away with, because they did exactly this sort of thing, trailing around behind powerful people and videotaping them. And so, the Deputy Premier has had an apprehended violence order taken out on his behalf against these guys. So if that had been the case for The Chaser, then The Chaser boys don't think they would have been able to do what they were doing. But Helen, since you say that this could have a chilling effect on any videos that haven't yet been released that have been produced by this duo, do you want to articulate for us what the content of those videos broadly was? Because, one would have to assume that you're right, that the legal advice at the moment would have to be, like, don't get yourselves into any more trouble, just lay low for a little bit.
But the video is about water corruption and about foreign ownership of water, floodplain harvesting in the north. So we'll see. It's almost ready to release anyway, I believe. But what I'm going to be doing is speaking to the lawyers, and really this incident should be investigated by the Law Enforcement Conduct Commission against the complaints against the police and the harsh handling of Kristo and his mother, and by them. And,
just explain that to us. So they went to Kristo's house to arrest him, and there was some altercation in which he was, I don't know if he was injured, but there was some physical altercation between him and the police and his mother?
That's right, and an animal too, a dog, I think. So really laying the heavy hand of the law, and, sending a clear message to Kristo that, they didn't want him doing what he was doing, which is his job as a journalist, is to highlight those issues that we need to know about across the state. So I think the Law Enforcement Conduct Commission should be able to investigate the New South Wales Police, and which really does, again, recently I tried to put a bill through New South Wales Parliament to have these organisations, such as the Law Enforcement Conduct Commission and ICAC, to be independently funded, not by Premier and Cabinet, but by an independent body, so that they were well-resourced to investigate these issues. So we've got a number of things happening across the state where oversight bodies are not able to do their job. And here you have John Barilaro really using his position to shut down anybody that's got an opposing point of view.
It'll be interesting to see what happens. Thanks for filling us in, Helen. Good to talk to you.